So yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and follow John and Brent's lead and turn your cameras on. So we're really going to push you to turn your cameras on, because if you have your cameras off, it even means your camera doesn't work, which we hear that excuse and we're like, come on, man, it's 2025. Like, your camera works. That excuse went out with 2012. And the other thing is, if you're going to have this playing in the background, it's probably not going to be helpful for you. So probably better just turn it off. Honestly, don't, not being mean, just like, I don't want you to inflate Sean's head and thinking all these people showed up when you really just have it playing in the background. So yeah, so go ahead and turn your cameras on so that we can all see each other and ask questions. And I will tell you, as we're getting started, go ahead and put any questions that you have, particularly around Buildertrend to-dos. You can put those in the chat window around Buildertrend to-dos, and that way we can get those queued up. We already have some questions that Sean and I have discussed and some things that have been best practices for he and Supple Homes. And so we're going to walk through some of those as well. And but we also want to be available, and Sean wants to be available for any questions that you've got for your own to-dos. So yeah. Hey, one of the other things that we like to do is get started with big wins. So BIG, beginning gratitude, is what that means. It's actually one of our core values. It's a core value emeritus for us. So we retired it a couple years ago, but retired it where we literally have a jersey, like a basketball jersey. It's hanging about 3 feet in front of Arthi right now on the other side of her wall. And there's two jerseys, and one of them says big wins. And so it's a Hallmark thing, beginning gratitude. So go ahead and put in the chat window. Go ahead, and I'll start us off. Got to have an impromptu breakfast at Waffle House. Brent will appreciate that, with my son this morning. So that was awesome. Got to go do that and see all the wonderful people at Waffle House at 6:45 in the morning, which is always, you never know what you're going to get at Waffle House, 6:45. So yeah, you go ahead and put something in the chat. What's a big win for you? Let's begin with some gratitude and start with some exciting things. And as a reminder, those of you coming in, if your camera is not on, go ahead and turn it on. We're going to act like we're all in a room together, because it's super awkward when we're staring at nobody. Really weird. We don't want to do that. So for those of you who have not met Sean Supple, I'll give a formal introduction here in a minute. But Sean, one of the things you need to know about Sean is it is nothing, and I mean literally nothing, for Sean to hop on an airplane on Friday. He's in California, by the way. Fly to Paris, France, not Texas, Paris, France, for the weekend, and be back home Monday. That is like, yep, that's what we did this weekend. He literally told me the other day, he was like, hey, did I tell you we went to Paris this weekend? It's like, no, he didn't. But that's Sean. So, all right, some other things up here. Saved 12K on quarry tile. Holy smokes. That is fantastic, Frank. Yeah, pre-COVID pricing. Boy, that you just ripped open a wound for everybody. All right, John McBroom, another opportunity to learn something new today. Awesome, awesome. Okay, set up a new customer on Buildertrend this morning. Awesome, Rachel, that's great. It went well. Rachel, just give me a head nod. Is Buildertrend new for you guys, or it's yeah, you've had it for a while? Okay, great. Awesome. See, that's what happens when your cameras are on. We can actually, like, communicate. It's great. Brent had an impromptu call from a client this morning, troubleshooting some inner office conflict. Ooh, Brent got to play pastor. Some of you guys don't know that our jobs as coaches is we're not just business coaches, consultants, and advisors, but we're also sometimes marriage counselors and psychologists we tend to play from time to time. So yeah, super exciting. All right, keep coming in. Okay, just after 11, reminder for those of you who don't have your camera on, if you don't mind, please turn those on so that we can see you here. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our awesome Buildertrend to do. I want to honor the time that you guys have been to be here and go ahead and jump in. We've got a lot of really good stuff. Sean is a great practitioner of Buildertrend, made a lot of investment in their business and in their team around this. And so this is going to be a very much worthwhile time for you. And I want to make sure that you draw the most value out of this. So again, any questions that you have, go ahead and post those in the chats around Buildertrend to-dos. We want to make sure that we queue those up and get to those as well. So a few things as we get started. Let me just make sure that we've got this. Arthi, we have this being recorded. Looks like it. Good to go. And those of you who have not met Arthi, some of you have heard Arthi's name and you're like, hey, is she a real person? And we're like, she's real. She's right there. That's her in the little Arthi cubicle there. And so Arthi is our implementation assistant and is a tenacity person. And we go, hey, Arthi, can you? And she's like, yes, I got it. And so she's that person on our team to get a lot of this stuff done. Super grateful. We actually have a couple of those, and Arthy's one of those. So we have one goal right now. It's not to make Buildertrend work for you. It's not to make Buildertrend easier. It really has nothing to do with Buildertrend other than that's what we're going to be talking about. Our goal is to liberate you from chaos. It's not so that you're a better Buildertrend person, okay? And so I want you to be aware of that and what the aim is. So everything that we talk about, every angle we take at this masterclass is going to be for one thing, and that's to liberate you from the chaos that you felt when you came into this masterclass, all right? At the end, here's what I want you to think about. And we've had a couple of these masterclasses. We had Keith, we had Adam that have done this. Now we're going to have Sean. Is you're going to get 5 different things that you could do that Sean's going to walk you through. We want you to pick one, because if you pick all 5, then we do not achieve our mission of liberating you from chaos. We're going to add to chaos. We do not want to do that. We want to liberate you from chaos. So at the end of this, I want you to think of one thing. I'm actually going to have a call to action for you with one thing that I think could be super helpful for you. Because if you take one of these thoughts, but you do not implement them, then all you're doing is hallucinating. We do not want you to do that, all right? We want you to have real value from your time with us here, and we want to make sure that you draw that value, but you can't do it if you're trying to do all things at once, all right? We want you to be able to pick one thing and do that one thing really, really, really well. That's what we're going for. Hey, just reminders who we are as BOP. Some of you, we have the privilege of being able to work with. You're like Sean, you're a client of ours. We've been able to work with you for a while, built relationship, and have the goal of liberating owners from chaos. For others of you, we have not had the chance to work with you. And so this is our team of 12 full-time professionals. And with this team, this is what we do every day. This is what we talk about. We have team meetings on Tuesdays. We have coaches meetings on Mondays. We have marketing and sales meetings on Mondays. We have directors meetings on Mondays. In all of those meetings, we have one focus: to liberate owners from chaos, make time for what matters most. Who do we work with? We work with business owners between 3 and 100 employees to do what? To build their purpose, their people, their process, and their profit. Now, we do it through something that we call our proprietary Business on Purpose operating system. So this is an actual OS that we have built. And in that operating system, it gives business owners just like you the opportunity to be able to break all those things out: purpose, people, process, and profit, into all the elements that you need to build a business. So that's who we are. But who's our expert, our in-house homie? That's Sean Supple. So that's Sean and I. We get together usually a couple times a year. I mean, he's going to Paris. Might as well stop by here. I get out to the West Coast at least once a year, and we get out there. And so just a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, he and I hit the links. And so we got to go play some golf right there on the Pacific Ocean. He's better than I. Both of us are marginal, but he's better than I am. And so he loves golf so much. I don't know if you guys know who this is, Scotty Scheffler, and there's Sean caddying for him. And so I said, I'm teasing, that's not Sean. I just saw this picture when I looked up golf, and I was like, that looks like Sean. But this is one of my favorite pictures of all time. So you can see Sean there on the left, and you see Dave and Mariah. You're like, well, who's that? Well, Dave is one of Sean's superintendents. Been with you, Sean, 17 years? How long has he been with you?
19.
19 years. And then Mariah has been around 5-6 years. And last year, a little over a year and a half ago, they got married. And wait, who's that on the right side? That's me. I got to officiate. So not only do we liberate owners from chaos, but we also do weddings as a little side hustle. So wedding and marriage counseling. Not really. Please don't call us for that. That comes after a long-term relationship. We get into those things. Sean has owned Supple homes for 2 decades now in the Menlo Park, Palo Alto, Silicon Valley area. And so probably the most restricted municipality in the entire country. Frank, you mentioned pre-COVID. Supple Homes actually had to shut down billing for about 4 to 6 weeks during the midst of COVID because of the restrictions of their municipality. And if you've ever heard me talk about a metaphorical guy named Asher in one of my talks going over subdivided bank accounts, Sean doesn't even know I use the name Asher. There's a reason why he would laugh at that name, but it's him. He's Asher, even though his name's not Asher. So if you ever wanted to meet the guy who's you saw going from $32,000 of cash to $300,000 of cash in 12 months, that's the guy. And so you can ask him, hey, is that story real? And he'd be like, it was very real. All right, so why are we doing this today? To liberate you from chaos, but we're going to drill down on the Buildertrend software. And so we get this all the time. People will come to us and they're like, hey, the software doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so our question is, wait, does Buildertrend not work, or is it maybe you? Not you, the window next to you. They don't work it. And so what we want to do is we want to bring people in. That's why I said we brought Adam, we brought Keith, we brought Sean. Why? It's because they're using the software. They're not just dancing around it, griping about it, moaning over it. This doesn't really work. It's not really good. Listen, Buildertrend's really good. The other software's really good. Our issue is not what software to use. Is it, do you use the software? And so that's where we're going to dive in and really lean into this stuff. So Sean, why don't you go ahead and pull up, and I'm going to walk you through a few questions, and then we'll have some kind of roundtable stuff around it. But we'll start here with this question, and that is, most people say that Buildertrend is too blank. How have you gotten over, and how has Supple Homes gotten over? It's too robust, it's too simplistic, it's too complicated, it's too confusing, it's too whatever. And instead just kind of bust that excuse and started making it a part of your day to day. How have you guys overcome that?
Thanks for having me, Scott. First is really intentional training. I think, right? We have spent a lot of time and we've been using Buildertrend for probably 7-8 years. And we danced around with some of the periphery features, maybe doing daily logs or the schedule a little bit, but really didn't get into it because it was, too complicated. It was too confusing or whatever for my team. And so we really, over the last several years, have spent a ton of time in our weekly meetings doing intentional training on it. And we took the extra step this last January of bringing Buildertrend in for a 2-day on-site intensive training. If you have the budget to be able to do that and the time, I would highly recommend that step. Or you bring them in, teach your team. They will train you in your actual company profile, right? And customize it and make it and do a whole thing. So just an intentional training, making the time and commitment, forcing your team to use it, really.
It's great. It's great. And they've even workflowed some of that. So he went through that training. And then one of the things that we always do as coaches is whenever you've gone through outside training, this happens when Sean goes to a Builder 20 club, for instance, or he comes, they bring Buildertrend in. Our next coaching call, I will always ask, hey, what did they lay out? And let's make sure that we have that mapped out now. But to Sean's point, there is a relentless, repetitive, predictable, meaningful commitment to go, we're using it, we're using it, we're using it. New team member comes in, they get trained on Buildertrend. Old team members are here, they get trained on Buildertrend. Buildertrend training is a regular part of the rhythm of Supple Homes. So that may be the biggest takeaway you need more than any of the other technical things that are there. All right, so one of the questions that I lobbed at Sean, and we were talking about this the other day, and that I wanted him to lean into is because the Buildertrend itself can be intimidating, but how can we leverage the simple feature of to-dos to be sort of a gateway drug? This is a good gateway drug, by the way, a gateway drug to open up the rest of the value of Buildertrend for people. They're really only, you may be using the schedule, they're using the billing portion, or they're using it as a really crummy CRM or whatever. But how can you use to-dos to start to open up the value of Buildertrend, Sean?
Well, a big mantra that I have been preaching particularly last 6 months to my team is what can we do to minimize avoidable mistakes, right? Like we all make mistakes, and how can we minimize ones that are avoidable because you didn't do this, you forgot about it, or whatever. And so I find to-dos to be, a very good way to help to minimize avoidable mistakes. And the key that comes with that is I think the big benefit comes with to-dos is when you tie them to a schedule item. Right. So they kind of get carried in together. And in our world, we have our whole construction schedule in Buildertrend, and we tie to-dos to those as reminders. They're really kind of reminders and checklists to do something before you're going to pour concrete or you're going to do something in the construction world. So they're really kind of reminders, right? And triggers so that we don't forget potentially to make an avoidable mistake. We have a reminder pops up for the team, and theoretically and ideally, really, I think it works. It helps prevent avoidable mistakes.
That's good. Hey, Sean, do you mind go ahead and pull up your Buildertrend, and can you show a to-do and then kind of make that visual connection between the to-do and tying that to a schedule item?
Sure. You need to let me share.
I'm going to ask Dorothy Vader if she will, I think, or maybe I have to do that.
I can send you a request. I sent you a request.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's on Arthy's end.
I just accepted it.
Okay.
You should be able to share
All right.
now. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you guys all see now?
Yes.
So this might be a little overwhelming for people that aren't using to-dos. We have templated, and I would highly recommend when you get into this to template. So when you create a new job, all this stuff is already made for you. Because most of our jobs are repeatable. We have to customize them, but most of the stuff are the same tasks happened. So you can see here, we have 227 to-dos that are all templated every time we start a job that are tied in, created, and they're almost all of them are tied to a schedule item. I think I can go over here if you can still see. We template our schedule as well. And so this is our whole schedule throughout our process. We have to do a lot of customizing for each new project, but the framework is all here. And so what was your question, Scott? What did you want me to show? Sorry.
So you had talked about the value of tying to-dos to schedule items.
Right. Okay. Great. So here we can come and pick something, any one of these to-dos. Let's pick one of these here. Finalize windows and exterior doors, for example. So, and my window is in the way. So this is tied. This is just says finalize windows, exterior doors. It's been assigned to a project manager. If you're familiar with Buildertrend, they recommend creating like a ZZ as a template so that it goes in, and when you have someone assigned to it, you then assign it to your project manager or whoever, architect, whatnot. But this is tied to pour crawl space foundation walls in our schedule. And we've set up a reminder to come up 21 days before that. This actually finalizing the windows and doors is due 7 days before that date in our schedule. And the beauty of tying it to the schedule is if the schedule moves, all these reminders and due dates move with it. And so that's been super helpful.
That's great. That's great. All right. And reminder for everybody, make sure you ask questions. So please put questions in the chat, because this will be a really great back and forth. And also be prepared that I might have you turn your microphone on for any kind of clarifying issues around those questions. I think because you need to make sure that you fully understand the value of to-dos before you lead this, because that's the only way you'll be liberated from the chaos of leveraging Buildertrend. So Sean, I ask another question here. How do you tie to-dos to checklist in such a way where you can start to set those reminders? So I'm going to put that question here in the chat window. How do we tie the to-dos to checklists that can also offer reminders and start to create this sort of loop of, we do something at BOP called the 4 R's. I'm gonna write this down here. So it's receive without distraction, record with physical movement, like let's go write something down, remind, and then report. And what we mean by that is when somebody asks you to do something, you want to receive it, like give me eye contact, looking around. That's why we want your cameras on. For those of you who don't have cameras on, we want to see you actively listening, not just standing there kind of passively receiving this stuff. And then we want to see you physically writing things down, recording things. I don't want to see you do an email. I don't want to see you distracted by those other things. Then we want you to set reminders, because those reminders will help you circle back to me and report. Because as soon as I ask you to do it, it should no longer be my responsibility. So I know a lot of you owners feel that way. So Sean, how do you create that loop to where the to-dos, checklists, reminders, and there's this sort of cycle that's there?
Yeah, maybe we should just create a to-do just from the basics. How do you create a to-do, right? Maybe so you come into project management to-dos. Over here, there's this plus to-do button here. So you can make a brand new one. We can call it test. You can assign it to anyone. This is key, to assign it to somebody on your team. You can also assign it to clients, architects, designers, if you want them to have a to-do and a reminder. We have this all templated, so I can assign this to me. And you can put notes here. We don't really use the notes feature. You can give a priority, how high a priority. So we use this feature to give tasks also to our laborer and carpenter. Because, we have 4 project managers and we only have 1 carpenter, 1 laborer that's spread out a bunch our company. And so we use this priority feature to be able to let the carpenter know which item has a higher priority. If they get 3 things to do today, which one is critical? And so that's where this priority feature can help them discern that. You can also then pick a date if it's just something that isn't tied to a particular schedule, but maybe it's a reminder. We have a reminder go out every Friday. This create and email a PSR to our clients. It's a weekly client update. We have a reminder go out every Friday morning to each of our project managers at 8 a.m. to remind them, hey, don't forget to send your weekly client update this afternoon. So that's an example where you can just pick a date and have it repeat every Friday. The most popular thing we do, though, is link it to a schedule item, as I said. So you have to have the schedule set up to be able to use this feature, really. Or you could create a new schedule tied at the same time, but ideally you'd have it templated. And so tie it to something, disconnect utilities. This is going to be due on that day, which is already in our schedule. You can have it be due several days before, or after. And so you can control that right here. This is the feature that we just learned about, which is, I think, is actually critical, is adding a time to it. We were using this for years, but never adding a time to it. So when you set up reminders, which is this next feature here, how often before do you want a reminder? Usually maybe it's a day or something. If you didn't put a time to it, the reminder was going out at midnight the night before. And so everyone's asleep. So that reminder can get lost. So I highly recommend giving it a time, whether it be maybe 8 a.m. or something. So it comes up one day before. This reminder is going to come up one day before at 8 a.m. when people are available to use it. If you wanted to add an attachment or something to it, you can do that here. Internal notes. This is a custom field that we added. You can add custom fields just for internal notes that no one else can see. But Scott, your point was adding a checklist item. So this is another thing you can add in here and add things, multiple things to do. And you can see on your to-do list over here, things that have checklists in our schedule show right here. So there's multiple items that are in here. And this could be, what is this? This is a test. It could just be test 1. It could be call Scott, whatever it is. It could be a bunch of things that are checklists. Just as a reminder, you can keep adding things in here. And we have set this too, that the project manager cannot click the to-do off until they have come in and reviewed each of these actual checklist items. So that's kind of how that's how you create a new to-do, I guess. Then you would save it, and now it is set up.
Great. Hey, Sean, a couple follow-up questions. Tony asked, are you able to put the to-do in a chronological order?
They, like right here in this, they will, you can have it come however you want. So these are in chronological order here, right? Okay. By date that they're due. I think you can sort of highlight it however you want.
Tony, go ahead and come off mute if you don't mind, and give a little bit more texture around your question. What would be helpful for you if it was in chronological order?
Hey, Scott. Hey, Sean. Thanks for the call. So yeah, we use Buildertrend similar to like this, and exactly like you guys say, it's not the software. We know it's internally us. So, using the to-dos is very helpful. I'm wondering, and I don't know if you can or can't, but yeah, so basically like very step oriented, I'm saying like, hey, when the job mobilizes, this is the first thing you should do, then the next thing, and then the next thing. That's what I mean by that. Is that something when you template it, is it able to like stay like that, or do I have to, or is it, I guess when you create the to-do, you have to move it around to where you want? And does it stay? I guess that's what I'm kind of saying.
It stays. The key is when you create a template and you make a new job, you have to make sure you bring the to-dos and the schedule into the new job at the same time. They have to move together. If you've templated them both, they have to move into the new job together, if that makes sense. You can't bring them in. You can't bring them in separately. Otherwise, they won't be linked. Even though you have them templated, does that make, yeah?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, me and my production manager, Colin, who's on there, we actually went to the Nebraska office for the training over there. It was just very overwhelming. So, your insight of having them come to your office might be better for us.
It is totally overwhelming. And to be honest with you, we did, when we first started using Buildertrend, like I said, 7-8 years ago, we had them come do an on-site then as well. And that was overwhelming as well, because we just didn't know what we didn't know, right? It's like taking it from a fire hose. And so I would almost recommend playing around with it, using it a little bit to get familiar with, because you don't know what you don't know in that first beginning to even know what questions to ask, right? You can ask an educated question now because you're using it. In the beginning, you don't even know what to ask.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So that's good. I'm going to put that on my Buildertrend to-do to schedule another training with them.
Mm-hmm. They do. I mean, and I'm not a Buildertrend rep, I'm not getting anything, but they do have a lot of good training, online. You can go through some of their own stuff. That's all free, and you can spend some time and utilize your rep as well. You should have a dedicated rep and schedule time. And I've had good luck getting 30, 45 minutes kind of whenever we want, really. You guys plan it out a week or two, get on their schedule, but you can really just dive into your software and ask them questions.
One best practice I would highly recommend, and we actually recommend this with any outside advisors that you have, CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys, things like that. Set a proactive cyclical schedule with them. Don't wait for an issue to come up. Go ahead and set a meeting, and that way you can, so if you've got a Buildertrend, well, all of you have Buildertrend reps if you're using it, go ahead and set up a once every other month, third Thursday at 4 o'clock, whatever it might be, and that's your Buildertrend time as a team. And if it's there available to you, you might as well leverage it. Tony, I appreciate the confession. We also do confessions here. And I appreciate the confession that it's you and not the system. So thanks for that. That's awesome. Sean, Gary asked, how do you create the to-do from the actual schedule item? Is there a way to do that?
There is. And actually, this is something that we just found, which I find is even a next level of information. So if I'll just have another tab here open up. Actually, I can just go there. Sorry, the Zoom window is always in the wrong spot on your screen. You know, when you're moving it around, it's always blocking the tab you want to click or whatever. So say if there's our schedule, right? Again, we template our whole schedule always. So we'll pick here underfloor framing schedule item. I can click in it. And if you come up to the top here, you'll see related items. And in a related item, you can click to have a new to-do. And then this is a sort of automatic way to tie it. Same thing, you'll tie it to the schedule. You go through the same steps that we just did on a to-do. We just changed this. We hadn't worked on this. We just learned this in our last in-person. And so you'll notice here now that we have all these to-dos are tied to it. Sorry, right? To-dos are tied to, so it's another way to get them. And here's a checklist. This is a checklist for schedule framers on the floor, crawl space access, mud sill width to match, just kind of questions to my project manager to think about. Oh, did we do that? Do we need to do that or not? So they really like this actually. I just asked one of my guys yesterday, what's the best benefit? And he said these checklists, they're just kind of things so you don't forget maybe. We all forget stuff. These are reminders.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered the question how to do it. So that's how you can attach it from a schedule item. Click in it, related item up atop, and
Awesome.
add it to do.
Tony, thanks for asking that question. Gary, thank you as well. Sean, Melissa asked, how do to-dos linked to schedule items work with multiple date changes? So she gave an example here. The example is the schedule item has been pushed out twice. Does that push out the to-do date as well?
It does if you have it linked to it. Yes. So let's see, we'll go back to to-dos. If you properly have linked a to-do to a schedule item, right here. See, this is tied to this. When you move the schedule, this all moves with it in the same time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. One other follow-up. Melissa had really, really good questions. Continue to send your questions. These are super helpful because I think you're seeing that once a question comes in, you're like, ooh, I didn't think about that. All right. And you've heard said before, the only dumb question is a question not asked. That's not true. I've heard people ask questions that are dumb. So I'm teasing. Like, just settle down, everybody. It's fine. It's Friday. All right, Melissa, can you assign each checklist item? So this is Sean, Melissa, question to you. Can you assign each checklist item to a different person with reminders? And she put in here, we use a to-do for the multiple steps in attaining a permit. So say a septic permit, you got person A makes a site plan, person B fills it out, submits it all, then person A meets on site. Currently, we just changed the person it's assigned to, but then whoever it's not assigned to at the moment may not see it. So back to the question, can you assign each checklist item to a different person with reminders?
I don't know. Let's look. I'm not sure. That's a great question. It looks like you can right here. I don't know if you can see right here. This is a checklist, right? We have checklists here. Add an assignee to it. Looks like you can assign a user right there.
Sweet.
For it. I think hopefully that answers it. I didn't know you could do that really, or we're not using that feature, but that looks great.
Yeah. So the expert has become more of an expert. So Melissa, thank you for that. Hey, Melissa, real quick, come off mute. I want to make sure that we answered your question in the sort of the intent and the spirit that you were asking it. So any other thoughts around that, Melissa?
No, that was pretty funny because when you hit the three dots, I'm like, uh-oh, why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I
That's
just
okay.
check?
That's
Usually
that
we're
just
just up there switching the assignee.
yeah.
So that's awesome. Thanks for showing us that. And then while
Yeah,
I'm
ask
off
your follow-up
mute.
because you put a follow-up here. So go ahead and ask that.
So, and just to explain that one a little bit, some of the jobs that we already have built out, we're going in and trying to, like, we're using the to-do actually for all of our inspections that a project manager has to call in. And we're linking that to the daily log so that we can put the results in the daily log and then keeping that all together so that at the end of the project, every inspection that we have called in is together in one daily log and linked to the to-do. If a to-do is already made, I know that like I was going through and deleting the one we had made and then using the related item to add a to-do and rewriting all of those. Is there any way to link two items after they both have already been made.
I don't know that answer. You have stumped me. Unfortunately, I don't know if that is a thing. And we do not relate them to the daily logs. And so that is not a to-dos. And so I'm not familiar with, do you do it from the daily log? Do you add it, or do you add it from a to-do and relate it there?
So when our
So
project
we'll just put
managers
it
write out
as,
their daily logs and want an inspection ordered from the office staff, we
right?
have them write out the daily log, and then after they publish it, they just create a to-do off of it.
Okay.
And
Let's
then
just make this.
our office staff will get that call in their inspection. And then we would create another daily log when the results come in. But then at the end of the job, when we're trying to look back and see all the inspections, they were all separated out. So we've decided to start doing it as one to do with like all rough inspections, and each of those are the tasks. And then it's related to a daily log that we just changed the date on to just keep it at the top. But as we write new ones, we can't relate it to that. It has to originate there. Or if there's one already done, we can't relate it back to it. So I didn't know if there was a way throughout all the system, even with the schedule items, if we already have a to-do written, to just go ahead and like the related items and link a related item after the fact, or if everything needs to originate as a related item from the item that you want to relate it to.
Yeah, I don't know all the details, but one thing you might be able to do is just use tags. Do you use tags at all?
We do.
So could you
We
just tag
it
it for
out.
the inspections, and then you could then just search, have it just, have it filter by tag of inspections, if that's the goal. They could still be
Right.
individual to-dos, but you can just filter them by having the tag.
Right.
Maybe that
Yeah,
serves your purpose. I don't know.
yeah, maybe we could do that instead of
That's good. Hey,
just
go back
tags.
real quick. John McBroom. John, if you could come off mute real quick. And Sean said he might be able to give some insight on the reassignment of the
Oh, great.
to-dos to the new assignee. So yeah, John, why don't you talk, and Sean, you can drive on the thing to get some clarity on that.
I was just saying, a lot of times the PMs, after we create the templates, they're still at a little bit of a loss. Well, I know the to-dos are in there, but how do I reassign them to individual people, take them off the placeholders, the ZZ? So some others may confront that also. So it'd be good if we just show them how to reassign those items, these to-dos.
Yeah. So I believe you go into the view the job details and internal users, and you can pick reassign items button up here. And so then you would pick from ZZ project manager, and you can assign it to whichever the project manager is. And that'll change all of them from that whatever ZZ you had, or whoever, it doesn't have to be a ZZ, to the new person.
Yeah, it's simple, but the PMs
Where?
and the superintendents ask that question just repeatedly. It's like, okay, how
Yeah.
many times have we got to talk about this?
Yeah. So that's how you do it, though, in there.
Thank you.
That's great. It's awesome. Sean, Gary asked a question. I appreciate you guys asking. These are super helpful questions. Can you set up all the checklist in the schedule template so that they're there when you start a new job? You guys crush this stuff. So can you set up all the checklist in a schedule template so they're there when you start a new job?
Yes, this is, all these things here are from my template. So I just made this Beebe test job, right? If I'll just show you our template, if I click into templates and I can click here, in our template is our full schedule, is all, this is right, our full, no, this is screwed up in here. As you can see, something's wrong, but this is all these, everything's scheduled in here, and everything is to do is, they're all in here. So when you create a new job, everything carries over, as does everything. We have our selections, we have all kinds of things carry over, estimates, bid packages. We template everything we can. So yes, they carry over.
Awesome. Okay, good. You guys keep asking questions. Our next question, Sean, is around to-dos and reminders. You may have already touched on this a little bit, but I'll throw it back up for anybody who might have hopped on late. But how do you tie those to-dos for the checklist to that can also create this reminders? I think that was the loop question that you had answered, actually. So I think we're good with that. Anything else you want to add around that?
Well, just that, I guess with the reminders, we'll go back in here if it opens up, is creating, I guess I can just edit, reminders right here. right? And so this is tying it to a schedule item. You can just pick a date if you wanted. When does it actually due? And again, I would add a time to it, whatever time that is. And then the reminder is here. You can select a reminder before that due date. How long, they give you lots of options, what you want it to do, but that's how you tie the reminder to the to-do.
Okay. All right. And again, anybody make sure go ahead, Sean.
I was just one thing to add on the reminders, you can also set up for each individual user what reminders they get. This gets a look in their profile setup and how they get them, whether they get it via email, text, or a push message. And so I would spend time with your team reviewing, we're getting off topic, but reviewing what their settings are, because they might be getting reminders. They might be getting an email, a text, and a push on their phone for the same thing. And they might just be tuning it out, right? Because they're getting too much stuff. Or they're getting reminders for stuff they don't need either. I would spend time with your team looking at their personal settings and how they get them.
So this is a really good point. For those of you who have not been around the BOP community, there is a key teaching that you might not be aware of, and that is this. Email is from the devil. Go ahead and you can write that down if you want. Email is from the devil. And some of you think I'm joking. I am not. And why am I bringing up email in the context of what Sean was talking about around the notifications? Notifications are the close second cousin to email. Do we need to have them on? That's your call. It's your decision. The reality is the more notifications that are on, the more they're going to Sean's point, be drowned out. And so there's got to be methodology in place to where, and that's why we look for homes. That's why we look for homes for things. So let me give you an example. We have something we call the Big Five feedback loop. It's the 5 meetings that should exist in every single business. Once weekly team meeting, once weekly departmental meeting, marketing, sales, ops, admin should each have their own meeting. Once at least monthly, if not twice monthly, some sort of executive or directors meeting, a once annually performance review, and a twice monthly one-on-one check-in. So you got these things here. Those become homes that serve as places to remind us of things. Because if you're dependent on ding, ding, zzz, ding, zzz, you're going to ignore all of them, and none of them become helpful. And so what I would encourage you to do is look around and go, what are the notification sequences in your business that people will actually pay attention to? Everything else, turn off. I have no notifications on my phone. Well, how do you know when you get a text? Because I go into my phone to check it. I don't let the text prompt me. How do I know when you get a phone call? Well, that comes through. But I don't have email updates. I don't have any of those notifications. All of our communication happens within one tool. It's not called Buildertrend. I'm not going to tell you the name of it because I don't want you to go look it up and get distracted. But in this tool, all internal BOP communication goes through. How do I know when I'm notified on that? I don't. I go into it twice a day fundamentally and proactively. That's what we can get in the habit of. But there are some things that we want to receive notifications on. So you need to prioritize those things, and Buildertrend may be a good candidate for that. All right. Sorry. I knew that was going to come up and I was going to get off on that. So Sean, next question. What's the best way to utilize the to-do templates to standardize your common processes? You've talked about these templates that you've got in place that sort of recur on a regular basis, pre-con, final walks, but give us an overview of best practice of how we can utilize those templates and standardize the repetition of it.
It takes time, I think, and it's not a static. The template's not static, right? We have evolved over the years, particularly adding checklists. And it's funny, I was talking to, again, my project manager yesterday, one of them, what's the benefit of you using these? And he actually said more information is better. Having more checklists, more of the little reminders, more, hey, did you call this person? Did you remember to do that, right? All the little things. So more is better, according to one of my project managers, having in here. And so this has evolved. Every time we get a new job, we kind of look at the template and think, should we add stuff? Things have gotten added over the years from basically things being missed, right? Mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. And so we add things so we don't make the same mistake twice. A new thing that we did add was this weekly, this weekly reminder. And so red, by the way, means it's past due. If you don't know what red means, this came in from our template, right? But red means it's past due. So you can create things to occur every week. That's beneficial. I don't know if I'm answering the question or not, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, here's what I'll ask everybody is in what Sean just went through and thought about, because the there's 3 things we look in leadership of any owner of a business. RPMs, repetition, predictability, meaning. What Sean and his team have done by creating these templates has set the stage for repetition to take place. Now, what could happen is his team ignores the templates. That's a possibility. His doesn't, but that's a possibility. Another thing that you could do is the templates are there, but they're not right. That's a possibility. Creates chaos. The third option is you've got the templates, and I hope you didn't miss what he said at the end. It takes time. What does that mean? We just sit back and wait on it? No. You have to proactively begin to build it, but just one today, one next week, one the following week. At the end of the year, you got 50 templates, and fundamentally, you've got the production side of the business systematized to a significant extent. Let's call it 80, 90% systematized at that point. And so let me go back to my home, Big Five feedback loop. Where in those homes, is it the once weekly team meeting? Is it the once weekly production meeting? Where in that home could you make process and template building a part of the agenda item of that meeting? For most of you, it's going to be the weekly production meeting or construction, whatever you call that thing. Well, right now, most of you are spending most of that time going round and round and round with all the problems at 3121 Maple Street. And you'll spend 3 hours going through all that stuff instead of spending 10 minutes to build a template for that. Sean, when you guys actively build a template, about how long does it take?
Well, we have one template that's basically made, and then we tweak it. We copy it and tweak it for different types of jobs, if it's a house with a basement or not. That original template, it took time. It took days of working on it, and really the team collaborating what should be in it, right? What things would process. And so as we went through a build, we then added in. But to your point, Scott, we spend time at our weekly operations meeting, production meeting. We have a checklist on our list. Anyone have any issues with Buildertrend? First and foremost, what do we need to talk about? If something needs not working right. But second is we'll train on a new feature. The beauty of Buildertrend is that they're constantly updating it. That's also the terrible part of Buildertrend, because things change and you lose, and you don't know where stuff is. So you kind of have to spend time. So we watch a lot of videos. I'll learn something and kind of just bring up a little tip or trick to people to know. One of the things, as a side note, we've spent the last 6 months a lot of time training on the software use, not even just Buildertrend, but Gmail and Drive and Zoom and stuff for the team. We build that great house, and my project managers are great at construction, but they're not necessarily experts at the software that we have to all use nowadays. And so we're intentional about training on the software to make it use all the features that we can.
Sean, I'm going to kick you off, and I want you to come back on here in just a minute. What I'm about to show you, what's on the screen right now, you can see this. This is an exercise that we walked through a few months ago. When you look on this, for everybody not named Sean, what we did was an exercise, and it took us, Sean, I think this took us 15 minutes, if I recall, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And all I did is open a spreadsheet, and I said, all right, Sean, Dave, Mariah, we had the team on the call. I want everything that you can possibly think about that needs to be trained on in the business. I'm talking everything. Just go. And they just started going. Now, here's what I really want to show you. These are all Buildertrend things. Budget, job costing, change orders, POs, scheduling, subcontractor billing, to-dos, comments, notifications, daily logs, all the way down. Now, notice what we have over here. This is actually a link they use. I'm not going to tell you the name of this because you're going to look it up and then you'll get lost. So don't worry about that. They have a link where they actually have the process of this over here. So when they have those meetings, the place that they're going is right here to this link to actually do the training on it. Did they do this within a week? No. Did they do it overnight? No. It took months. And you even heard Sean say on that initial thing that the initial template took, days. And yeah, it's something that we as coaches can help with. We come to a workshop and just go, hey, let's get all this stuff out of your head and do all of this stuff. And now you've got it. Now every template from there on out takes minutes. Here's the problem. And please don't be offended, any of you. The problem is most of you won't ever take the time to do the first part, so you never get the value of the second part. And so you got to be willing to do the first part and go through the hard work of the first part to get the value of the repetition of the second part. All right, Sean, and I want to tell everybody, this could be my final prepared question. So if you do have questions, make sure you're asking them. So we're going to wrap up here shortly. It's 11:45, so we're going to wrap up at the top of the hour. All right, so final question. Can you, Sean, share a real world example? So we had talked about how leveraging Buildertrend, you want to avoid mistakes and avoidable mistakes. You want to mitigate those avoidable mistakes. So can you talk about a real world example of how you use to-dos to prevent a major mistake or delay on a project, or to give you some clarity around things that if you did not have a tool, again, we're not lauding just one tool, it's leveraging tools in general. If you didn't have this tool and didn't use it, you would have made that major mistake.
Yeah, we had an example several months ago where we were pouring a new foundation, and the house happened to have a pool. And when you pour a pool, you have to have a key up on the wall to be able to open and close the pool, the cover. And so we have to put a conduit in the concrete for that to happen. Well, the PM forgot that step or whatever, but the to-do came up with the checklist. Is there a pool? And did you put the pool conduit in? And so that triggered it. And we were able to get the electrician to come put the pool conduit in before we poured the concrete. And so that saved us the rework of trying to go fix it later. So that's a real world example. Yeah.
So gang, this is real stuff. Again, our thing is we communicate with Buildertrend, like we've got connections with Buildertrend. We see a lot of other software out there. Software would not be on the market if it didn't help somebody. So the point is not to sit here and go, hey, do this, do this. The point is leverage the tool. You've been given a tool, leverage the tool and be able to do it. All right. So here's what I want you to do. Some next steps. First, if you want to get some more information about Sean, don't bombard him, please. He's busy and he's got a lot of work to do, and so do you. So don't just like bombard him, but he's a super nice guy. And so if you want to see about more of what they're doing, go to their website, supplehomesinc.com. And so you can see some of what they've done. It's extraordinary work. And some of their projects are insane. But you don't have to have insane projects to be a great utility user of Buildertrend. All right. So if you want to hear and see more about Sean Supple, and he'll also be at IBS this year. And so if you want to connect, let us know, and we'll make sure we make a connection so that you guys can connect as well. All right. So let me give you a call to action. You ready? Don't jump yet. It's going to be super important. Number one, sign up for the next masterclass. If you go to bopmasterclass.com, the next one is right down here. And Adam Copenhaver, who I saw on here a little bit earlier, might still be on here. He did our first masterclass. He's going to be talking about all the tips and tricks of pre-con. How can you leverage Buildertrend for pre-con? Huge. So December 19th, that'll be in about a month and a half. You can go ahead and sign up for that if you just go up here and go bopmasterclass.com. And also, if you don't mind, pass that link to other builders that you know. Send it to your HBA and go, hey, these guys are killing it, like with this stuff. Because frankly, we are doing really good with this stuff and trying to give you great value around this. All right. So that's the first call to action, is to go ahead and sign up for the next masterclass. And Arthi went and put that in the chat, so you can just click that there. All right. Second, if you need help with this and you want us to kind of work with you on some things, if you are the primary owner, you're doing $1 million or more in annual revenue, you have 3 or more employees, and you have a desire to grow. You're like, God, you guys are being super selective. I know, because that's who we work with. All right. That's what we know. That's the language we speak. Then what you can do is we will actually build a custom Buildertrend to-do workflow with you. So you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure it out. This is a template that I'm saying, don't take a screenshot because it's not customized to you. It won't be helpful. But it's the template that we have to build an actual to-do workflow to help you get in the habits of being able to do this. So if you want to do this, 2 things you can do, and I'll put this in the chat window as well, is you can hop on with one of our coaches who has set aside time for this. You can QR code it too if you want to do that. By the way, if you're over the age of 45, don't take a picture of that QR code, right? Just let your camera sit there and just be patient. The link will pop up. I'm over 45, so I can make that joke. It's not a joke though, because some of you are literally trying to take a picture of it right now. So if you go on the link right there, Chad is offering about 25 minutes. These are no strings attached. 25-minute coaching calls, one-on-one, he has made time for. And if you want to integrate a to-do workflow into your Buildertrend, he will help you build that out so that you've got great clarity on that. And so you don't walk away from here confused. Okay. Now, if you want to know how we could work with you as a potential client, then ask him. He will tell you. But that, again, this time is for us to be able to bring you value. But we're not just giving out those templates. You got to pay something for it. You're not going to pay with your dollars. You're going to pay with your time to be able to do it. So I want to go back and ask you, what do you want to walk away with from this time? And so what's your one thing we want you to walk away with? Is clarity. That's our aim. So that's why we're saying, hey, go get some clarity, build out this workflow, go set some time with Chad to be able to do it so you can do all that. But I want you to write down, what's your one thing of what Sean talked about around the to-dos? Is it the reminders? Is it the checklist? Is it the scheduling? Is it creating the templates? How to assign different things to multiple people at once? What's the one thing you want to lock in on? Do you want to just start using to-dos better and building out a workflow with Chad to be able to do that? What's that one thing you want to do that will make everything a little bit easier? Classic Gary Keller question that we've got for you. Okay. All right. So go sign up for the next BOP Masterclass, number one. Number two, make that action item and sign up if you are the primary owner, you're doing $1 million or more in revenue, you have 3 or more employees, and you really do want to leverage Buildertrend and have a desire to grow. Go sign up for some time with Chad and he'll help you build that out. All right. We're going to hang on just for a couple more minutes. I do want to tell you, thank you for your attention. I'm really, really grateful. We don't take that for granted. And so I do believe this was valuable. I'm not even going to say I hope it was valuable. I know it was valuable. Sean gives a lot of his time, and we're super grateful for that. So Sean, before everybody leaves, thank you. It's hugely helpful for what you do. So any parting wisdom from you?
Thanks for having me. Hopefully it was helpful. You know, it really just, I don't want to preach what you preach, but you got to spend the intentional time. And it can be little, but you really just need to be intentional about the training. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
That's great. All right, everybody, we'll be back for the December Masterclass, December 19th. Thank you for the time, for the attention. For those of you who submitted questions, we're really grateful. It's so helpful for everybody. So everybody enjoy the rest of the Friday, and let's go implement your one thing. Take care, everybody.